I recently did a post on LinkedIn which quite a bit of attention, and I think for good reason. It speaks to certainly my generation, but probably a lot broader, probably as young as 40, what I would call Gen X. Gen X is kind of seen as the forgotten generation. We weren't born into a digital world, but we've managed to grapple with many of the digital tools. We kind of crossed this chasm between the analog world, digital world when we moved on. We first introduced to the internet, I would have obviously been around 1995-ish, that time. Really didn't get into full swing until early 2000s, but iPhones, mobile phones and things like that came. Knowing how to navigate your way around the world didn't include Google Maps, and trying to find your friends in those years before mobile phones was literally knocking on a door and hoping you'd find them in. Lots of things have changed, but I think we're in a very unique position now. There's lots of evidence to suggest that people like us in their early 40s, even right up to 60s now, have a bit of a unique advantage in the world, and that's what I want to talk about. And I'm going to talk about this from a Gen X perspective, although it could certainly be a bit younger and probably not over 60. With today's health benefits and for people who look after themselves, there's plenty of people still going into their 80s and 90s in business. So look at Warren Buffett. He just literally retired this year and he was 95. So there's lots of longevity that people have got in their careers. If you do have longevity, is something that, we're living longer, having healthier lives generally, if you put the effort in, then you need to be thinking about what you're going to be doing in that what I call second act of life. And I'll talk more about that in the future, but on other videos. But what I want to just talk about today is, that unique advantage for Gen X. Yeah, so look at the stats. I mean, majority of the founders, or certainly the successful founders now, are in a much later stage in their career. And this is not your kind of Silicon Valley. This is entrepreneurs who've got, years of experience and expertise that they're able to leverage. Now, it was a little bit difficult a few years ago to be able to even start a business if you didn't have any good technical knowledge. But that barrier to entry has been lowered with lots of different tools, especially from AI. And you've seen platforms like Lovable and many like that have allowed that barrier to entry to produce technologies, capabilities using something called vibe coding. Now, they just get you a prototype out. They're not going to build you a probably enterprise grade platform, but it's given people the possibilities who didn't have a technical background. And maybe for some of those executives in more senior positions who would have probably needed a CTO to even test the market, they can test the market themselves. So that's one thing that's changed. The other thing that's changed is think of it more as kind of your authority. Largely required something like a book, if you like, or a track record of success in either your career or business. And that's still true today, but there's a way that you can almost shortcut that by getting more involved in what's happening across the world on social media platforms, which is largely the attention economy. How do you leverage what we call the attention economy by using some of these platforms to give yourself a leg up in credibility? Daniel Priestley talks about this a lot in his book, The Key Person of Influence, which has had a profound impact on how I think about my role within an industry and how I can have an impact. But the sooner you can start thinking about your role within your industry, even in broader community, and how you can start becoming that key person of influence, or what I regard as more of an authority, then the more impact that you can have. He talks about having 11 kind of interactions, but it's a constant drumbeat of engaging material that helps find your community. It's not about coming up with materials or content that is for your audience. It probably needs to reflect you as an individual, and then your audience finds you. So that's probably a good framing. And as Gen Xers, we have a lot of depth to our experience and expertise that we can bring. And the other important element for Gen X in particular is we're probably already in those stable careers now, maybe towards the middle or end of our careers. And you've probably got this high salary that you're probably dependent on to some degree. But this now might be the opportunity to test the waters. And it's something I talk about a lot, is how can you test within your market whether something is attractive, and that barrier to entry has never been lower. So anyway, this is something I'm going to be talking about a lot on this channel. For Gen Xers, we've got certainly a unique opportunity that we should be taking advantage of. I want to be sharing more about how you can specifically do that. Now, I am in the process of writing a book, and in this book there'll be a lot more details about my journey, some of the things that have worked for me. And, you know, not everything that I've done is going to work for you, but I've been inspired by many others around the world to do some of the things that they worked, and then I'm applying that in practice. I guess the good thing is that if you look at what people have achieved or done, there's obviously a lot of mistakes that they've made. You know, if you can shortcut some of those mistakes that I've made, certainly that will help. Yeah, the book's largely going to be about building a portfolio career, and I think if we're all looking for a little bit more flexibility, especially if you're in that Gen X bracket, then this is probably going to help. Okay, there are other videos I'm going to be doing more into building a portfolio career, how you build some of those assets of value. I'll also be talking about fitness, and I think that's a really important factor. Fundamentally believe, you know, that health is the new wealth, as they say, to coin that phrase. And I'll be doing some videos about health as well, and especially for Gen X, certainly those in their 40s and going into their 50s, where I am now. There's some very important things that we should be considering, especially if we want to get to the ripe old age of 95 and still being engaged in a business like Warren Buffett was. Okay, well, that's all for now. Please like and subscribe, and don't forget to click on the notification. I'd love to make sure that you can get the benefit of this to help you build out your own portfolio career and really show the world, you know, what Gen Xers can do as a forgotten tribe of individuals, and I'd love to be part of your success. Okay, so I'll leave it there. Please put down your comments. Tell me what you want to hear more of. I'll give you a taste of some of the things that will be coming in this channel, but effectively it's all about giving you my perspectives, what helped me in my portfolio career, and what I'm going to do next. And I'd love to be on the journey with you. Okay, Darren, out.